to order. Everybody can please stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to say welcome to the December 10th meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes? To the agenda.
I need to add fiscal officer number 6, finance assistant salary.
Any others? Seeing none, the agenda will stand with that correction and addition. And we have nothing under unfinished business or new business, so this will take us directly over to the sheriff's report.
For November, our calls for service were 786 calls. It's about 10.5% down from last year. Crashes were 91, non-injury crashes. That was up from last year. Our injury crashes, we had 11 for the month, which was down from last year, so that's good. Alarms, we had less alarms this year than last year, 49, which is about a 40% decrease. We were down on traffic stops. We had 106, which was down about 48% from last year. Weather-wise. It's been a much wetter quarter, November. So our citations were down a little. We had 110 citations for the month. However, our arrests were up. We had 40 arrests for the month, which was up about 14% from last year.
Anything specific that contributed to that?
Time of year. And then we did 246 vacation checks for the residents. Our Plain Township detective was assigned 5 cases for the month. He closed out 3 cases, one being a burglary, one being a breaking and entering, and a sex offense. And then we have the charts going back, I think almost 10 years going back now, almost 10 years on our charts, and then the comparison chart for last year. Do you have any questions?
I do not. Anybody have questions? Thank you, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, that'll take us over to the fiscal officer report. Tom?
Thank you. Fiscal officer number 1 is a resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in the amount of $184,855.13.
So moved. Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal officer number 2 is a resolution to authorize the payment of regular payroll in the amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second? Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal officer number 3 is a resolution to authorize the payment for the following medical claims.
So moved. Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal officer number 4 is a resolution to enter into a contract coverage agreement with the State of Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation for the calendar year 2025 and to authorize payment to the State of Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation of $109,759.
So moved. Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal officer number 5 is a resolution to authorize the following transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second? Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal officer number 6 is a resolution to authorize and adjust the annual salary for finance assistant Lauren Beskett to $62,930 per year, retroactive to December 8, 2024.
So moved.
Second? Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that concludes the fiscal officer report.
And thank you, Tom. Now take us over to the administrator.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to authorize the attached walk, run, race application for the Spirit of the Season 5K.
So moved.
Second, discussion?
Yes, this is our first time using our new permitted application. It worked out really well. You'll see all the department head signatures approving the plan that was submitted. I did get a copy of the insurance and the permit fee today. It includes the race map, the course map, the start and stop and the duration, so everything that we're asking for, so the board can make an informed decision.
Perfect.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution to hire Emily Martin as the zoning administrative assistant at the probationary rate of $24.70 an hour.
So moved.
Second, discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to adjust the salaries of administrative assistants based on completed cross-training.
So moved.
Second, discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a follow-up. It's a resolution to authorize a pay adjustment for Amy Shaw and Megan Bardowell, as they are 2 who have completed cross-training in different departments. Megan is zoning, parks, and admin, and Amy is admin and parks.
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Just simple compliment for, this has been a progressive process, so it's nice to have the comfort and confidence of this, so.
And it's nice to have people in place that can fill in if somebody's off or out for an extended illness, especially in zoning. That is such a hard office to learn. So it will be great to have Megan just across the office at any time she can step in.
Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that's the end of the administrator report.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. That'll take us over to Chief with the fire department.
Thank you. Item number 1 is our monthly report.
Guys have had a busy month.
Yes.
That's the norm. Okay, any questions, please see Chief after. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to accept the resignation of Brooke Tallman as a Plain Township part-time firefighter EMT.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment for structural firefighting gloves and hoods from Phoenix Safety Outfitters not to exceed $11,115 and be reimbursed minus 10% from the firefighter exposure grant PWC.
So moved.
Second, discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Okay, item number 4 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to promote Joe Keever and Kyle Albert to the position of lieutenant, effective 700 hours on January 5th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I think
Well,
your whole process was pretty thorough. You got a lot of input, and I think we got 2 good candidates there. So good luck to them.
And I have to say thanks to the administrator, obviously coming out with a lot of time and effort on her end, coming back and forth for meetings and interviews and et cetera. So.
And that's nice. I want to commend you. The process from start to finish was excellent. From the testing to the interviews to the situation that they were presented with to second interviews. 10 people applying for 2 positions is tough, especially when they're very qualified. And I got to say the top 5 were super close, but you know, like you always say, it rise to the top, and it's a good decision.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to enter in the attached agreement with the Stark County Sheriff's Department for dispatching effective January 1 of 2025 to December of 2025.
So moved.
Second, discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes. And that completes the fire department. Thank you, chief. That'll take us over to Drew with the road department.
Thank you. Road item number 1 is the monthly report.
I'd like to say something about the monthly report. The board is gonna start to see and has been seeing with Drew, a more fair representation of work order numbers. He is doing it in a different fashion. If they have a snow event, he doesn't create a work order for every employee. It's one work order. So this year, since he started, you're seeing a more fair representation of work
So
orders.
what we're saying is, under prior, they were creating a work order for every.
Yeah, that's what we were told.
It was inflated. So especially, I just want the board prepared for the year-end report. When you're looking, there's gonna be a difference, but this is the factual representation of work orders that you've been seeing and will continue to see.
Well, thank you for flushing that out, because that's, I mean, if you apply that logic should be applied across any type of department, parks, road, fire, whatever, like, wow.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily the number of work orders you get done. I think it's the quality of work and, managing your time the right way. That number doesn't mean much to me.
I agree.
But if you have any questions, please stop down.
Thank you, Drew. Go ahead.
Road item number 2 is a resolution to authorize reimbursement payment of $400 for healthcare, health club visits.
So moved.
Second, discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes road department.
Thank you, Drew. That'll take us over to Tom with the zoning department.
Thank you, ma'am. The item number 1 is the monthly report.
It's an interesting setup on the front of that.
Sir, and,
Pretty close to that residential building.
I was gonna say, that's certainly not a Plain Township.
Yeah.
Oh,
But have you ever noticed if you're driving, you can tell people who don't have zoning, because you'll see residential and then business right in there, and then residential and industry, so.
Okay, if anybody has any questions for Tom, please see him after. Go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 2 is a resolution to abate item A.
So moved.
Second, discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to reappoint Richard Beck to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term.
So moved.
Second, discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And item number 4 is a resolution to reappoint Terry Seeberger to the Board of Zoning Commission for a 5-year term.
So moved.
Second, discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning.
Thank you, Tom. That'll take us over to Rob with the Parks Department.
Thanks. The only item on the agenda is a monthly report.
You've had quite the busy month as well.
You guys did a nice job playing up at Legacy Park.
Thank you.
Friday night.
Yes,
Especially for as cold as that was.
And those little kids dancing were so cute.
Yeah. But your guys were out there and you for a long time, starting at 4:30, and they were happy and chipper and just a pleasure. They really, you
Very
can tell
lucky to
them
have
their
the group of
jobs.
people I have to work with.
And they kept a smile on their face.
They did the whole
So
time.
the kids that were dancing across the stage, 2 of them were doing cartwheels like holding together. I'm sitting here going, how's this even physically possible? It was pretty impressive.
It was a good night. We certainly would love to see more people out, but we understand the bitterness of the cold.
All right, if anybody has any questions for Rob, please see him after. Nothing under the law director. We do not have any communications. And we've reached the portion of the meeting, that the public speaking segment. And if anybody in the audience would like to address the board, they may do so.
I thought it was mandatory for the scholarship.
At least a 3-minute speech, did they not tell you about that?
History of townships, how many townships in the state of Ohio, let alone in Stark County?
She says, maybe I'll come back.
Nothing under the concerns of trustees, nothing under the concerns of the fiscal officer. That'll take us over to the approval of the minutes, and I'll make the first motion for the November 26 minutes.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes. And we do not have a need for executive session, and I will make the motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:15.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.